11 months ago, I created a DM framework that's made my clients over $1.4 million and booked 3,429 appointments from both warm and cold outbound. This is something that works for both B2C and B2B, right across X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even LinkedIn. Here are some examples of relevant high-ticket payments that have been collected as a result, right? But for this to work, it's contingent upon one thing, especially on Instagram, and that is your profile must be optimized, right? It must be optimized. What does that mean, right? That means no blank profile picture. Right? It means having a clean, authoritative profile picture, one that conveys you as an authority, and a bio that clearly shows exactly what you do. Not a bio that says, entrepreneur or fitness coach, right? It should say something along the lines of, I help X individual get to Y goal, especially if it's a biz op offer or a B2C offer. Secondly, what you must have is in your highlights an introduction to exactly what you do, your offer, and proof you can actually deliver what you say you can, right? Results. However, if you don't have any client results yet, then you can use your own results to show that you're competent. So, you can show your own transformation, whether that be you're a fitness coach, you can document your own, transformation from fat to fit. Or if you're a biz op coach, your own journey in business from 0 to 10K a month, whatever that might be. Once you have all that in place, right, then you're ready to roll. So step one is optimize your initial message for the highest open rate. We don't want to be sending random messages like, trying to pitch them off the bat or trying to, really, force your offer down their throat. No, right? So you want to state where you found the profile from, acknowledge, if they've already been following you, if you have some following already, perfect, even better. Use something from their profile, in your message to relate to, and end with the question. So what this might look like was, say, if you're a B2B coaches helping coaches offer, for example, right? What you might do is you might see your competition and you might go to their following and message them, hey, I saw you follow X, Y, and Z as well. Small world have. Make a joke out of it. Check their profile. If they have something in their profile, say they went to, or say they ride motorbikes, for example, or go skiing. You can tie in, hey, I went skiing a few months ago as well. Where did you go? Or if you can see where they went, tie that into there. Make some conversation. And then ask a question relating to that, right? Completely throws them off. Lowers their guard. What you want to do mainly is to show that you're just not a random NPC trying to, get their business, or trying to close them or sell them on something. You want to just disarm them, right? Hook them in or reel them in, just like a fish. But from here to step 2, what you want to do is build rapport. What does building rapport even look like? That means, just make conversation, right? Polite conversation about the topic, whatever that might be, pretty broad. Doesn't necessarily have to be sales related or trying to, pitch them on your product at all. It's just general conversation to disarm them. Once you've done enough of that, back and forth, boom, then you can go into step 2, or sometimes even they'll start asking questions about what exactly you do because your profile is optimized for that. So they might start asking you questions. But anyway, the next step is build a gap / qualify them at the same time. What does this mean, right? Here's a good example of this. Funny little image, but this means creating distance between where they are now versus where they want to be, or their ideal outcome. And this must be done very subtly though, right? Especially in B2B. You can't be forcing anything down their throats or trying to, really push your offer down. No, it has to be done subtly, right? That means, tying in the conversation prior, being very conversational with it, right? Be conversational rather than sticking to a script. Once you have clarity on the current situation, tangibly, i.e. like the current income, then you can start asking about the ideal goal, or ideal outcome, or where they want to be in 3 to 4 months. Once they've given that in detail, that's when you can move to step 3. Here's an example of this though, right? You want to keep digging and digging and digging and think of this as a core, right? You want to dig and dig and dig, and soon enough you'll find yourself being able to book them in, the diamonds or the treasure. Step 4, or step 3 should I say, is highlight the gap, right? What you want to do is highlight the gap between where they are now versus where they want to be to build urgency with them, right? Ask questions that highlight their skill deficiency or create curiosity, right? High level questions in regards to that, right? So if someone says, for example, in a B2B context, say, Airbnbs, for example, they want to set up their own Airbnb business. Ask a very specific question about Airbnbs or Airbnb management optimization, whatever that might be, right? Which they won't know the answer to. That's going to create some curiosity in the prospect's head, because they're like, oh, damn, I don't know that. Should I know that? It's going to create some doubt there. Once that gap is highlighted, that's when, they view you as someone who can fill that gap, right? They view you as someone, okay, this person actually knows what they're talking about. And then you can pitch your guidance, by asking them, with some guidance, how to best optimize that be helpful, or solve X, Y, and Z issue be helpful to get you to ideal outcome or ideal goal, whether that be 10K a month, whatever it might be. Once you've done that, then boom, step 4, booking them in. That's all it is. You book them in. Depending on your specific offer or niche, you want to frame the call differently. And depending on how cold they are, you want to lower the perceived commitment of the call, right? For example, if they're a very cold lead and it's, B2B, then you don't want to necessarily go around, pushing it down. Okay, this is going to be to see how we best fit, to work together, blah, blah, blah. No, right? Just frame it as a quick chat, on how to, get to X, Y, and Z goal, or how to optimize this or that, whatever you mentioned earlier in the conversation. If they're warmer, so say, they've already been following you, engaging with some of your content, then you can pitch them and frame the call in a way where you say, the call's to see if we'd even be a good fit to work together, or, to see how we can best help you achieve X, Y, and Z goal, right? Next, step 5. And this is one of the most overlooked processes and steps out the entire process across the bar, across all the clients I've worked with. And this is the post-booking nurturing process. You want to ensure you do everything you can to build further trust and authority before the call. There's no point booking a call in if they don't show, right? Or if you're, questioning if they'd even close, right? So to increase the likelihood of them showing and closing, this is crucial. And the way you do this is by sending them a piece of content or a resource you think would be very helpful, given their goal or specific conversation. That could be a YouTube video or, a written resource or a document, wherever it might be. And then what you do to optimize the show rate and to make sure it actually show is send call reminders, 24 hours, 12 hours, or 1 hour before the call. Now, you might be thinking, what about follow-ups, right? You haven't touched upon follow-ups. Well, I'm getting to that, right? Follow-ups are one of the most important parts of the whole piece, right? Most important parts of the whole jigsaw, should I say. What you want to do, especially with the B2B, is play dumb, pique curiosity, and use humor, right? So the first follow-up should be play dumb. Okay, did you get to see my message, mate? You get my message, mate? Play dumb, right? Next one, pique curiosity, right? Something that, gets them interested. Okay, what's going on here, right? Maybe you like their last message, whatever it might be. You send something interesting, unique, throws them off a bit, and then use humor, right? Maybe a GIF or something, whatever it might be. However, with B2B, it's very, very important that you follow up with value, right? The higher the ticket price usually, right, and the deal size, and when you start working with, let's say, enterprise level clients, every follow-up must have some level of value there. So like, hey, I saw your client doing X, Y, and Z. Here's how what they're doing can be directly beneficial to you, or here's why this is so important for you to take action on X, Y, and Z, right? Always value, 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 because that's what actually gets them to move the needle, rather than say, playing dumb or curiosity. Sure, that can work to some extent, but follow-ups with a value-oriented follow-ups are going to be the most important thing. That's it for this video, guys. If you're a creator or a coach or just sell info products in general and you want to book a call with me to audio business, the link's in the bio below. And if you want to pop me a message on Instagram or if you have any questions, then the link's in the bio below as well.